and welcome back. My name is Erica and I'm a knitter and crocheter living in Scotland, and I'm going to scour wool for the first time. This, I feel, is quite intimidating to me because I'm really scared that I'm going to felt the fleeces that I got, but at the same time I know that I'm just going to have to do it in order to learn and see if I make any mistakes along the way. But another thing that I quickly want to mention before I do anything else is I'm going to basically put together a little playlist of videos that I can remember, at least, because I've watched so many, but I'm going to put together a playlist of videos I found useful, and I'm going to make that playlist public so that if people want to go through the same process, basically, that you have everything sort of compiled within one playlist, if that's useful to you. But what I'm going to be doing today, because it's not raining for once and it's actually relatively warm, like it's muggy, but it is warm. So I am going to start the scouring process, and I've got two of these big, like, buckets. I don't think they're buckets, but anyway, I've got two of these, and what I'm gonna do, because I've got 5 big bags of raw fleece, but I'm gonna start with at least one of the bags, and I'm going to just do it in chunks because I don't want to just chuck one whole fleece in here, because there's no way that there's going to be enough space and water within one bucket to deal with one fleece. And the reason also why I'm going to split it up is because I'm going to start with the long fibered ones first, because I know that they are also a bit easier to spin from what I've seen online, because I have 2 fleeces that are short-haired and then I have 3 that are long-haired. So yeah, I'm going to do the long-haired ones first, hopefully not felt it along the way. And another thing that I'm going to be doing, because this I found really confusing, some videos or some like Reddit posts and stuff mention that people do a cold bath first, like a cold soak, and then they're doing the warm soak with like a scouring agent in it. But then other people are saying that you shouldn't do that because that could create like temperature shock for the wool and that could felt the wool. So I feel like, is there a step that they're doing in the middle that I'm missing? Like, I don't understand how they then don't have the felting issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a warm soak first so that it's not basically shocking the wool when I transfer it from the soak to the scouring soak, if that makes any sense. And also the reason kind of why I wanted to do that is because, well, some people say that the soak initially is quite good to get the vegetable matter and stuff out of it, but I saw another video and I couldn't find it, but she actually puts the first soak stuff onto her plants afterwards because it's a really good fertilizer. So I figured if I do that, I could just literally use it on the plants that I planted in my garden a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. And then for the scouring agent, I literally just have the Australian fiber scour. I initially wanted to go with the unicorn one because everyone was saying that one is the best. But 1, it was quite expensive, and 2, for some reason, the shipping on that was just so long for me here in the UK. So that's why I ended up with the Australian one instead. But people are still saying that it's quite good, so wait, we'll see how it goes. And then I have my drying station set up. So for the people that have watched like me putting together this room, I have like a little corner where I have a drying rack, but because it's good weather, what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to cut this chicken wire that I got from my local shop, and I'm going to cut it to size of basically where I have my drying station, and that makes it so that I can actually transfer this wire section around. So I can just put the wool on the cutout wire, and then once I'm done for today, I can just bring it back inside and I could use my dehumidifier and stuff. So yeah, it gives me a little bit more portability instead of me just putting it directly on my drying rack. So lots to be getting on with, and I know that I don't have that much time in between the soaks because you need to keep things warm, because otherwise you risk the lanolin to basically reattach itself to the wool, which apparently is very unpleasant to work with. So I think the first bath, I'm just going to keep an eye on it, see how long it actually maintains the heat. I'm hoping to like get 30 minutes out of it. And then I'm going to prepare, before I take it out of the first soak, I'm going to prepare another hot bath with the scouring agent next to it so that I can just transfer it from one bucket to the next, and hopefully it won't have like time to cool down, which means it doesn't felt along the way. I don't know. But anyway, let's see how this process goes. So this is my last batch for today. I've got this one and then I did those two. I think the second one was more successful because I used less wool, but we'll see. Anyway, almost there. Okay, it has been quite productive in terms of cleaning a couple of batches of wool. I have done 3 small batches and I do think the smaller, the better the result is. Although the first batch I didn't think it was that big, but I think part of the issue as well is that some of the wool was already like quite clumped up, and I think I'm just going to have to take those parts out because obviously it doesn't look very good right now. Although I have seen on Reddit posts that people say that you can't really tell if things have felted or not until it's fully dry. So I will just have to see in a couple of days how things are looking. But at least the second and third batch actually looks really, really good. And I'm very happy with how it turned out. The big bits of like vegetable matter have come out during washing, but I do have to go in and just pick some of the small bits that are quite like woven in the wool, but I'm not really going to do that now because I just don't want to agitate the wool now that it's still wet. So yeah, what I'm just going to do is I'll check in with you guys in a couple of days and hopefully I will have dry wool, or semi-dry at least, in maybe 2 days or so. So yeah, I'll see you in a couple of days. All right, it has been a couple of days, but batch 2 and 3 is fully dry. Batch 1 is still a little bit damp, or like it slightly feels a little bit damp where it's really clumped up, but I'll show you guys what I mean by that. But I didn't really want to say too much of exactly all the steps that I took because in case if I did something wrong and my end results weren't good, I didn't want to just go like, oh, this is exactly everything I've done until I knew that that would work, if that makes sense. So for batch 2 and 3, everything actually looks really good. The wool itself is so much cleaner. There's still a little bit of vegetable matter in it, but like it's such a difference. And the wool actually, like, it doesn't look felted, doesn't feel felted. I can like pull it apart if I want to, which is really good. And then the same for this batch here. It just looks so good. It looks so fluffy. So I'm very excited to start carding, but that's for a next video. But then in terms of batch 1, I'll show you what I mean with like the clumpy bits. So like there's sections, like this section here actually looks quite all right. It doesn't look too felted, but this is what I mean with like very clumpy bits. It is just like so stuck together, and it was already like this when I put it in the water, and I think it just wasn't savable. I was maybe hoping that with doing the scouring and stuff, it would maybe like loosen the dirt and stuff up, but I think this must have been at an area where there was just like a lot of friction and it just felted it over time, because yeah, I don't have that issue with the other 2 batches, so I don't think it is related to what I did in terms of the process of trying to clean it, if that makes sense. But exactly the steps that I took at least was I did one hot soak to begin with. So all I did was literally just turn the tap all the way to the hot like setting. I didn't add any like boiling water or anything in because yeah, you don't want to like boil your wool because that will also result in felting. So I just wanted it hot to the touch. And then I basically kept putting my finger in every like 10 minutes or so just to make sure that the water was still warm because I didn't want the lanolin to basically reattach itself to the wool. And then the second batch, the only thing that I did differently, because I still did the same process in terms of the heat with the water, basically hot to the touch, all that. But then I added in the scouring agent. So that I used the Australian one and I did 20 milliliters. And the handy thing with the Australian one is that you have like this little measuring compartment, so you can just squeeze it and it will bring like the liquid in here, and then you can just pour it straight into your bucket. And I then just left that to just sit in. And also something that I should mention as well is when you put the wool in, I gently placed it in and then just gently pressed it down to make sure that all the wool was fully submerged. But I never did any movement like this because I heard if you do that and then this, you're going to felt the wool. So I tried to be really, really careful to not do any of that. And then once the second bath with the scouring agent was done, I basically prepped another one just because my wool or my fleece was quite dirty. And I think most of the fleeces that I've got are not like pristine, right? Like there's even one that has paint marks on it. So that's why I'm just going to do 2 scouring agent baths or soaks. And once I did those 2, I then did like rinse soaks. So then again, same hot water method, but instead of adding scouring agent or anything, I didn't do that. And I gently just squeezed out the water. Again, not really doing anything like this, but just squeezing it like that. And then placing it into the water and then leaving it again to soak for a little bit. And then I did basically 2 rinse soaks with nothing in it. And that seemed to get all the soapy stuff out of it. And also when I did my final like rinse soak, the water was pretty much clear, which is exactly kind of what you're wanting to look for. Like it doesn't have to be super clear, but you don't want it to still be like that sort of murky brown. So it looked like the clean and everything went really well. Then what I did is I transferred it from the bucket onto the bench outside, and I'm glad I waited until it was a good day because it literally, even though that I tried and squeezed out as much as I could, there was still so much water seeping out from the wool. And even after I brought it in inside, because even the first 2 batches that I did, which was like earlier in the day, it was still slightly dripping. So I ended up just putting towels underneath the wool, and I just made sure to swap them out every couple like hours just to make sure that there was nothing on the carpet. But once I did, I think I had to change towels like twice and then it was good. It seemed that all the water was like fully absorbed and then it was just drying. And all that I did was basically put the dehumidifier underneath, and I made sure to like turn things around, like also just turn things around like that so that I would have both sides that would be equally dry. And I think that really helped because even though that it has been raining the last 2 days, my wool actually has dried pretty quickly because we have a dehumidifier, and we have a dehumidifier because we live in Scotland and drying our clothes in the winter isn't ideal when you don't have a dehumidifier. So yeah, I think that was also a really good purchase to dry out the wool, even though that it totally wasn't designed to do that. But all in all, super happy with it. I think everything has turned out really well. Like, let me know what you guys think. But I honestly think this actually turned out really well, given the fact that this was like the first time that I did it. And let me know if there's some way that I can salvage where are the chunky bits? Yeah, let me know if I can salvage these chunky bits. Like they feel like really thick as well, while if I press down on this, it is so fluffy, very cloudy, while this, it feels quite solid. And I don't think I can salvage it, but maybe someone that is watching will know how to salvage it. So let me know. But then in terms of what I will be doing next, because I did shake it out just before I filmed this section, essentially, just to get the last little small bits of vegetable matter out of it. Because if you shake it, you can see that like little bits still fall out. So there's still some like sticks here and there, but what I'm just going to do is I'm going to take those out once I start carding. So like, because I'll be taking strips anyway, it'll be a bit easier for me to just do that when I'm prepping for that. But that's for the next video, because otherwise, one, this would be way too long, but I also figured it would just be good to split it up and give me a bit of time to like dry and do different batches and stuff. But my carding thingies, handle thingies have arrived, and yeah, I'm excited to get started on that, but it probably won't be this weekend because I have my sister-in-law coming over, so probably not much progress, at least on the wool scouring, wool processing front. But I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned stuff, because I definitely did, and I hope for the people that know how to do this stuff, let me know if I did things all right or if I messed up along the way, because yeah, like I said, I'm still very new to this. I just kind of went with what I saw and then just did my own things here and there, like for example using a warm soak at the start instead of a cold soak, because I found that a bit confusing with some of the stuff that people were saying. But yeah, hope it was alright, I hope you had a good time, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!